Hello everybody, it is Saturday morning, so I'm going to do a new project for today, which is to batten feature wall this space here. So as you can probably see just at the top of the shot, I've done some painting above. I didn't bother going all the way down because this is going to be a contrasting colour to the top. So I'm going to use the MDF wall kit by B&Q, which retails at about £18. I know that you can buy a sheet of MDF and cut it down. A lot of people say that that works out cheaper. To be honest, I couldn't be bothered with all the hassle of setting up the saw to cut everything and make it all the same size. So I just bought two of these and that should be enough. So there's 1.2 meters worth of wood in the box, and this space is about 2.3 meters long. So I had to buy two packs. So I'm going to start at the bottom and then do the uprights, then do the top. Then the idea is we're going to do some caulking and filling, sand it, prime it, paint it. Should be able to do the whole thing in 1 to 2 days based on how quick we can get the paint to dry. But I'm quite looking forward to this. I think it's going to be a really lovely little feature for this room. So let's see how we get on. Okay, so in terms of a product unboxing, these are the MDF pieces. Should be six in the box, and each one is cut exactly the same. Being MDF, it's made out of basically sawdust. So you've got to make sure you prime this because this is like a sponge. It will suck up the paint when you paint it. So make sure you prime it and stop the paint soaking in. So the first job is going to be to get this on the wall there at the bottom. I'm going to run that all the way along. It should be able to fill the shadow gap that we've got on the skirt, and you might see that in the background as well. So we'll get that on first, and then we can move on to the next stage, which is going to be the uprights. So I'm going to start by sticking no more nails on the back before I stick it to the wall. Then I'm going to use my new Von Half nailer. There's a separate product review to this elsewhere on my YouTube channel. If it's not there yet, it will be soon. I'm not good for giving business advice, by the way, but if you were to buy shares in Unibond, I guarantee you'll be very wealthy because of the amount of this no more nails that I purchase. I buy a lot of this. Works so well. So we're going to put this on the back, stick it on, tack it with the nailer to hold it in place because the wall does bow just a little bit, and then we'll work our way along, and then from there we can then do the verticals, which I'll do equally spaced, and then we can put the caps, the tops on. So that's the plan. Cool. The next piece butted up lovely, and then pushed on and in. Fantastico. Beautifully done. Tell you what, that's held lovely, perfectly flush with the other one. That's great. Again over here maybe. That's great. That's not going anywhere, is it? It's working well so far. This little space at the end, which is slightly longer than the two panels that I've put on so far, I've got to cut a little bit of one, which is a shame. There's one less upright, but it doesn't matter. So what we do is take it over to here. Works out 15 centimeters. So we'll mark out 15 centimeters. There's our 15 there. And then all I've got to do is mark that off with my square here, and then we can cut it alongside the trusty saw. So the manager's been in, the manager being the wife. She's decided that we're having 5 back panels, so that's made up of course of 4 uprights in the middle. There is a spare, and I did say we could have more, but she's adamant, and happy wife, happy life, and all that malarkey. So we're going to go for that. So what I've got to do now is equally space these. I've got to work out the full distance and then minus the ones on the side, and then basically divide the space by the number of panels that you want, and that will tell you where the uprights need to be. So I'm going to do that, and then once they're on the wall, then I can put the top bit on. Now, one quick point to show you. When I put these uprights, you'll see that at the top there is a little gap. That is deliberate, but not at the bottom. And that is because the architrave, of course, isn't straight. And I don't want to put that on wonky because it will then make the horizontals across the top look terrible. So I've had to make that straight with the spirit level, and then I'll have to fill that gap. Likewise, on this side, it's actually straight when touching at the top, but at the bottom, there's a little gap on this one. Not much, and it will fill nicely with some cork, so I'm not too concerned, but it's got to look right, and I'm a sucker for a spirit level, so I've got to make sure everything is nice and straight. So next job is to measure the spacing, put these uprights on, and then we can concentrate on doing the top. Got it all installed, and I'm really happy with it so far. So now what we're going to do is we're going to fill the gaps. As you can see, there's a few little gaps down the side. I also want to fill any joins between the pieces, and I also want to fill her in over the top of any nails, either the ones I've had to shoot in or the ones I've had to tap in. That one is actually flat, but it looks like it's protruding. So we'll do that along the edge. That's the next job. So I want to talk just a little bit about trim moldings. There's a lot of videos and tutorials on how to do MDF walls like the one I'm doing, but no one ever seems to talk about the bit that fits on the top. So I just want to go into that a little bit. Obviously, this is a dado rail, as it's also known in the UK. This one was £12, which is really expensive for what it is. 2.4 meters. Annoyingly, I need 2.5 meters, so I had to buy two for the sake of 4 inches. Very, very irritating. However, this is the one that we're going for. Excuse the notch missing out of that one. There was only two left of the style that we're going for, but this is the one I'm going to cut down anyway. So this is the look of it, and as you can see, just from the end, the bottom bit is going to be about level with the MDF, and then you've got kind of a cap across the top, which I think will look really smart. So that's the style we're going to go for, and it will be primed and everything with the rest of the MDF shortly. So I'm going to put that on. I'm going to put a few brad nails in, and we should be sorted. So let's see how we get on with that. So at this point, once the filler was in and it had dried for a few hours, I was then able to sand it down. I did use an orbital sander, and normally my orbital sander is very reliable. It's by Ryobi, and I have a lot of Ryobi tools, as you guys probably know by now. For some reason, my Ryobi sander started to have a little bit of a wobble on this date, and as you'll see in a sec, after I'd used it for the first couple of uprights, it started to throw the discs off and attack me. I don't know why. I couldn't quite work out why suddenly the Velcro stopped working, and the next day the Velcro worked again absolutely fine. But for this day, because everything seemed to be against me for some reason, I gave up, as you can probably tell, and I had to go back to the good old-fashioned block of wood with sandpaper on it. If you haven't got an orbital sander, it works absolutely fine. But just a little bit annoying that I had to do that. Just made it take a little bit longer. Obviously, it makes a lot of dust. So here's me using my leaf blower, also from Ryobi. I'm not sponsored, but I should be. And that helped to clear the dust off, ready for a bit of painting, which I did next. So this is all done now. Really happy. All of the joints are done. They're super smooth. Super smooth there, look. So gone all the way around, smoothed it all off, and Now I've got to prime it all. So let's do a bit of that. I use B&Q's own wood primer for this. They do sell wood primer and MDF primer as separate products, but I think that's a bit of a gimmick. Wood primer is cheaper and it works absolutely fine for this. So just use that. Use it with a roller, ideally, on the flat surfaces, as it's much quicker in my experience than if you were to just use a brush. So this is the paint that we're going to use for the new batten wall, which is called Belle. Belle paint, and it looks like a very light magnolia. So quite looking forward to this. Let's get that on there.
A few moments later.
Now, here is first coat done. I can't do any more tonight. But first coat done on our feature wall, which is what the bed's going to go up against. So the colours, again, based on this bulb, aren't what they are. That is more like a magnolia, and that is actually like an oat colour, but it looks a bit green in the video. So yeah, I'm really, really proud of myself for what I've done today. And there you have it, finished product. After a couple of coats of paint. I only did 2 coats, and this was the finish. And here is the finale, ladies and gents. This is what it looked like when the whole thing was done and it had a bed in the room. It looks absolutely stunning, and I'm so, so pleased with it. I think it came out lovely. It makes a real statement in this room, makes it look very luxurious, very fancy, cozy and comfy. And I hope you like it. So see you on the next one, guys.